Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is part number 3 of daily number 419 with me and my squeaky chair. We're looking at this idea of adjusting just one thing at a time. And what we've done in the first 2 parts is look pretty in-depth at the idea of finding one moment and looking through it as clearly and cleanly as possible. We don't ever want to hit a point where we say, here's the one thing we're adjusting, and it turns out to be wrong. So when we step into these games, these next 3 games, we're going to blast through really fast and try to just get one adjustment to make. So as we hop into this game, let's do Zenio versus Naniwa. It's another short one. Let's go ahead and look at it from Naniwa's point of view. We are at ×8 speed. Up here, we see an early expand from Naniwa. Forge plopping down as he hasn't scouted yet. He spots his opponent. Building somewhat of an early pool, he pulls back to the probe until he can build a pylon at the front, which eventually dies. This probe tries to work its way up to the high ground, but gets picked off by a queen. Either way, Naniwa does manage to double check and see that there is an early third hatch going down. This third hatch is pretty appropriately timed around the 5-minute mark. In the, Naniwa cam. He builds not 1 zealot, but 2 zealots. He's chrono boosting his cybernetics core a lot, not really doing too much on the +1 front, kind of alternating between them. And suddenly, a whole bunch of banelings roll in. Naniwa brings all of his probes to try to stay alive. He cannot build any more cannons. And he dies. Ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-da-da. Easy game. Alright, cool. What went wrong in this game? What went wrong in this game? A whole bunch of Zergling Baneling broke our front even after we saw our opponent having 1, 2, 3 hatcheries and a Baneling nest. How on earth did all this happen with Zergling speed? All you gotta do is look for one adjustment. And make absolutely sure that you are accounting for next time versus this time. It is a terrible, horrible, tragic mistake to focus on this time. To say something like, alright, well, I should really have 4 cannons at the front of my base. Should you really have 4 cannons next time? Or would you have just liked to have 4 cannons this time? Let me show you what I mean. Let's look into this a little bit. If we pull back here, actually hell, let's even pull back to the 7-minute mark. At this point in time, Naniwa is almost done with Warp Gate. He's going to have a really fast Warp Gate. He's almost done with the Forge. These 2 things are going to be really, really, really good against everything pretty much except this. And if you try to focus too much on this time, you'll forget the fact that the fast Warp Gate is great against most normal 3-base plays. You'll forget the fact that the +1 is good against most normal 3-base plays. You'll throw away all this benefit trying to defend the 10% chance that he does this. Here's an appropriate adjustment to make. If we lost to Baneling Zergling, what is an important part to Baneling Zergling? The gas geyser. This went down early, but Naniwa could never see it. Here's the Naniwa cam. Here is the everyone cam. Naniwa cam, everyone cam. Naniwa needed to be more adamant about walking into this main and seeing what was up, because in fact Zenio got a pool with speed, got a Baneling nest as fast as humanly possible, and then just went ahead and broke the front. And in that unique counting station we see a single queen out, no extra queens from Zenio. And by skipping that queen, he was able to get this hatch up. So what adjustment should Naniwa make? Well, at the 4-minute mark, it looks like the pool was done. At the 3-minute, or the extractor was done at the 3-minute mark. Our probe built a pylon. We can say something as simple as when this probe was going to pull back, we should actually run it in and double check these spots really quickly. Just swiftly double check both of those gas geysers. And that's all we have to do. That's all we have to do. Next time, I'm going to check these gas geysers to know if he's going gas. all we have to do, a simple adjustment. Right after I build that pylon, I'm going to wander back in between 3 and 4 minutes. Just want to make sure he has no gas geyser started. Let's pick a game between... Empire Cost and White Raw. Yes. Let's pick this short game on Shakura's Plateau. Cool. Let's go right into it. Let's try to find one adjustment for our friend Empire Cost. Alright, we're times 8ing it. I want to times 8 to get a basic sense of what happened in this game. I don't need to know all the specific details. Did he forget every pylon? Did he not? Oh, look at that. It's a reactor barracks.
Add-on complete.
All this sort of stuff we don't really need to worry about too much at this point in time. Unless we see, you know, something like this climbs to 6,000 versus 100.
Upgrade.
So at this point, let's see, everything's pretty ordinary. Virtually no interaction. Excuse me, just took a huge gulp of water. There we go. A little bit of interaction. The food count's pretty even between these two. The lag count might be a little bit... Whoa! Empire Cost seems to have fallen way the heck behind. We do see 3 barracks down right now. Everything seemed pretty normal in Camp White Raw, not a problem, but Empire Cost seems to be really far behind. Notice how what I just did on the daily right now was times 8 through a replay as fast as humanly possible and just said normal, 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 food count even, food count even. Whoa, those seem to be different. This is generally how you can find when your one adjustment will occur. You go back to that moment where things were looking even. Try to find what caused things to change. So right now, I'm going to look before all the change happened. I'm getting my ghosts. I've just scouted my opponent. Here are some colossi at the front of my base. Alright, I'm getting my starport up. I have 1, 2, 3 barracks. 3rd command center coming up. Let's see, did something go wrong in this battle? All my SCVs were certainly pulled. Trying to keep this alive. Yeah, wow, those colossi were a real pain in the ass. Total pain in the butt, and we weren't able to hold it off. So this is one of these things where what I want to do is I want to try to figure out what one thing I could have done differently here. It might be something like getting a different unit. It might be something like building a second bunker. It might be something like scouting him earlier to figure out what's up. If I actually back up just 10 seconds, I see that, yeah, it looks like he's had these 6 gates for a while. What if I back up a full minute? Wow. White Raw, totally freaking aggressive, man. Going nuts. So what I might want to do is say something like, this Ghost Academy, a lot of times you'll be watching a game and you'll see something like a structure that isn't used. Like you build an infestation pit, you get that plus, the +1 pathogen glands upgrade. You might say something like, I get an infestation pit, I've started pathogen glands, but I didn't really get to use the infester at all. You might say something like, I'm Protoss, I built the Templar Archives, I started to research Storm, but I never built any Templar. You look for things that are not really participating in this attack here. And at this point, for Empire Cost to not have any notion that this attack is coming might be a bit, obviously is somewhat of an issue. We do have all the upgrades from our Marines and Marauders. We see those there. But we see that, we got our medevacs pretty quickly after this, and maybe we should have gotten Vikings. A very simple adjustment may be something like first build 2 medevacs, then build 2 Vikings. What's an even simpler adjustment? An even simpler adjustment that requires less change. Gee, at 10 minutes, even before my medevacs are out, I should begin moving forward. If we look at the entire map, there's no way that White Rock can move out. What, 6 Zealots, an Immortal, a Stalker, 4 Sentries, and a whole bunch of barracks units? Why don't I move out beforehand? And if I see Colossus coming out at me, then I build more Vikings. If I don't, I just keep doing what I'm doing. Either way, I buy myself some more time. Notice how what I'm describing is as small an adjustment as possible. As unbelievably tiny an adjustment as possible. It's so easy to say a big adjustment. Ooh, yeah, I want 3 barracks. After 3 barracks, I should always get a 2nd starport for Vikings, just in case he's going Colossus. I'm sure that will work, but only against Colossus. That's something that works in this game, but might not work in the next game. And that's the important thing to think. You want to think about, in the next game, what is the smallest, tiniest, little, teensiest adjustment I could possibly make that would cause this nice change. So we see this big force moving out. We see no range. Obviously, if you are out here, oh, how great that will be. Your Protoss player can't even begin to put pressure on you until he gets range done. And then when he tries to press forward with these kinds of units, you can easily fall back and you can easily begin these Vikings started much earlier, have a much easier time defending your front, and the Colossi will almost have to fall back. Now, before we go into the Q&A period, you might ask yourself, well, if I get those Vikings up, and I'm shooting at the Colossus, let's just look at this position. What if my Vikings are like here? Like right over the supply depots shooting at the Colossi. Won't these Stalkers get the chance to shoot at it? Might require a little bit of micro. Hell, maybe even, maybe the Vikings early on are not enough. Maybe they're not enough. Maybe he comes in, you have the Vikings super early, you make the small adjustment to have your force out there to see, and it's just not enough. He can't do the damage that he needs. Or you can't do the damage you need to hold off this attack. That is okay. I'm going to ignore that for now. Because the important thing is that we have our game right now, and we want to make an adjustment for next game. And then what we want to do is look at whether our adjustment worked or not, and try to do a small adjustment for that. The best players ever are really stubborn. Really, really stubborn. Let me describe what is dangerous to do, what a weak player may do. Is that he has played 50 games going Stalker Colossus. 50 games playing. Has a whole bunch of experience. Tries once, loses, can't figure out why, and he says, I guess I better go Zealot Archon instead of Stalker Colossus. That's bad. I mean, like, this is the big mistake that's very easy to make, is people will just shift around too much. They'll be like, I'm going to go Banshee. No, I'm going to open up Blue Flame Hellion. No, I'm going to open up Thor. No, I'm going to go Bio. No, I'm going to go Mech. And they're just jumping between anything, and they never focus much on one thing. Stubborn players, though, will say things like, I like Stalker Colossus. Let me try to make this work on 2 bases. It didn't work. Maybe I need a Forge earlier. It didn't work. Maybe I need to get range for Colossus earlier. It didn't work. I guess I'm not chrono boosting my Colossi enough. It didn't work. Is it probes and pylons related? They stay as stubborn as possible, stick to a very limited space of things, and they drill deep. One of my favorite quotes from Josh Waitskin is that depth beats breadth every day of the week. If you are amazing at one strat, you are an amazing player. If you are decent at 50 strats, you are a decent player. It doesn't matter how many strategies you're comfortable with. You need to be amazing at just one strategy to really drill deep. So I don't want you to think for some reason that there's this huge, dangerous realm of play and knowledge where you need to have 50,000 games to play. You don't need that many games as long as you're drilling downward instead of outward. It's great to be stubborn. What is the thing that you saw consistently pop up in all these adjustments? I did not say something like Empire Cost should change his opening. I didn't say something like De Muslim in Part 1 should change his opening. I didn't say that. I instead said something like, what do we do with the third barracks? Or, excuse me, the third Reaper? Maybe that'll help. Maybe it's just the second Reaper. Maybe adjusting that'll help. Maybe building a bunker back home instead of at the front will help. Tiny, 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 tiny adjustments. You can be aware of the huge adjustments, but I want you to do the tiny ones a lot first. Let's take some questions. Also, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Marky Ochoa. I did not sleep very well last night, so I'm hoping to get a very early start to bedtime tonight. Woo! This is a thing I do where I have an empty glass of water and I just still kind of... Oh, that'll fix it. I don't know if you do that where you don't want to get new water. Yuck. Cloud JR says, Day 9, wouldn't you say the common theme to all of these issues are a lack of or delay of scouting? Seems like doing such a simple thing could have completely changed the outcome of all these games. The last statement I agree with. I wholeheartedly agree that a simple thing could have completely changed the outcome of these games. But I will not credit it to scouting. I think this is the biggest difference between someone like MVP and someone like a Platinum or Masters player. And it's very subtle, but causes a huge difference. A huge difference. And that is the following. You don't really need to see exactly what your opponent is doing to comfortably prepare. You don't really need to see that. A lot of times you'll see players do weird things, like they'll send Marine 1 here, Marine 2 there, and Marine 3 here. Way the hell off somewhere different. And it's very easy to be like, why the hell is he doing that? The answer is that he said, almost all the strategies work when I just attack with the first 2 Marines, but in this case, I need to send the 3rd Marine out to kill that Overlord if it's there. It's these sort of adjustments that don't really have much to do with scouting. It instead has to do with little timing windows and preparing for those little windows. We saw De Muslim crushing Violet in that game on Tal'Darim Altar. Demolishing, killing off the expansion, getting the Reapers in place, having 2 bunkers there. Ugh. So bad for Zerg. But what he needed to do was just pull his Reapers back a little bit. He didn't need to scout into the main and see that speed Zerglings were being researched. He didn't even need to see that there was that many Zerglings being built. Why? Because it's more important that he sends the Reaper back early to get into the defensive position than it is for him to see the Zerglings to indicate what he should do. De Muslim did not have nearly enough time to go, oh, I scouted you, and you have a bunch of Zerglings, and you're getting speed. Well, I'll just go home then. The Zerglings with speed would have already arrived there. Almost all solid strategies, if you scout them, have a lot of scary timings to them. And it's important you deal with the scary timings, not that you deal with the surprise factor of the strategy. This is a great question from Switchblade 3. It says, Day 9 with 3 different matchups and a nearly infinite amount of strategies. How do you recommend keeping track of all the different adjustments you want to make? The important thing is that you just keep track of them one at a time per matchup. Sometimes they'll be situational, but they'll get more and more situational the higher you'll get. And when you're in those higher leagues, they won't feel that specific. If you're in the higher leagues, you've dealt with a 3-basing Zerg hundreds of times. So it's not a new scary spot for you. It's just the same spot you've been in with a twist. If you're a gold or lower player, you may have never been up against a 3-basing Zerg. And the adjustment you might make might be huge against that. The important thing is that you're just picking one adjustment and sticking to it. StarCraft 2 requires a lot of iteration and just to keep going through that. And in terms of keeping track of all the adjustments you want to make, I see nothing wrong with doing whatever works for you to an extreme. Like, I've had post-it notes on my monitor right here, and that helps me remember. I've had a Google Doc that I have open, and I have PVZ, PVT, and PvP if I'm playing a bunch of Protoss games that day. And what I'll do is is on the loading screen, I'll be like, I'm up against a Zerg, Alt-Tab, make sure you don't fuck up this, and this. Okay, Alt-Tab back. Works for me, might not work for you, it's fine, just as long as you have a method. But the important thing is that when you're at lower levels, if you just have something like macro and make sure you're going Stalker Colossus and not building any other units. Boom! Welcome to the Platinum League. Yeah, that sort of thing. Let's take some more. Great question from Troggy YD. Day 9, I'm in Bronze League. Should I pick one build order and work with it every game until I master it to improve my skill level? Yes! The one caveat is have one build per race. One build per race. Against Zerg, I'm going Stalker Colossus. Against Terran, I'm going Zealot Archon. Against Protoss, I'm going Blink Stalker. Now, anyone who's in Platinum or higher hears what I say and says, what the fuck? There's a million ways to go Stalker Colossus and Zealot Archon and Blink Stalker in each of those matchups. That's fine. Get specific as you go. If you're Bronze League and you're watching the daily and thinking, oh yeah, I need to account for early expand timings, but I can't keep all that in my head, don't worry, just throw it into the garbage can and pick 3 units and build a lot of them, and you'll be in fantastic shape. And try to work with those 3 units and adjust them over time, how the compositions look and how those compositions work. If you're Bronze, definitely scope down. Don't try to do, I'm going to go Bio on Wednesday and Mech on Thursday and Air Force on Friday. Too much variety is toxic. One last question before I go. Great question from Pink Mohi. Perhaps the most important question we've heard all day long. Day 9, isn't it hard to find these adjustments on ladder when you have a different opponent every time doing different strats against you? Now, let me take Pink Mohi's question and extend it if it's not clear. Something like you are up against a Roach Hydra player, and you think, all right, I need to get the Immortals at this time, cool. And the next game, you're up against a Mutaling player, and you're like, well, my Immortal timing isn't going to be very useful here because he's not building Roach Hydra. And then you're like, well, I guess I need to get Blink Stalker and Templar faster because I'm not getting Templar at all in this matchup. Okay, you go on to the next game, and he's going Infestor Baneling, and you're like, damn it, Zerg guy. Ugh. What I would say to you is, all you have to do is have one simple adjustment at a time per situation. Just one. And what you'll find is that all you have to do is wait to implement it. So for instance, in Roach Hydra, I'm going to make sure I get my Immortal started at 55 food in my build order. Ha! And the next game you're against Mutaling, damn it. The next game you're against Mutaling, damn it. The next game he's 6 pools, damn it. But in game number 4, you're up against a guy who goes Roach Hydra. Ah! Now it's time to test my Immortal strategy. So, in other words, it's very reasonable to have like 5 adjustments floating in the air, and you haven't tested them yet. You want to test them desperately, but you have not gotten the opportunity to, because you know what? Your opponents keep doing different things. And that's okay. That is natural, that is normal, that is part of StarCraft. It's why I advocate things like get a practice partner. Because if you have a practice partner, you can say, Billy, build Roach Hydra and don't stop until I win. You do that sort of thing. And then you say, Billy, I'm comfortable. Now I want you to go Roach Muta and don't stop until I win. And you keep working on your adjustments for that. But on ladder, you will be in a position where you're up against varieties of strategies. Don't worry, just make sure you have the adjustments in your head that you want to work on. For next week's Newbie Tuesday, I want you to submit to me a pair of replays. 2 replays. One is you playing a game where you lose, and you say, here is my adjustment for this one game. The one adjustment. And then I want you to submit to me the second game is you implementing that adjustment. I don't care if it works. I don't care if it loses or wins. I want to see the difference between you saying, here's a problem I have and here's my adjustment, and then here is it in practice. Submit those to Tuesday at day9.tv. Next week's Fun Day Monday is the Burrowed Baneling Fun Day Monday. I want to see Burrowed Banelings, Banelings drops, Baneling ambushes, Maximum Baneling. The most epic Burrowed dropped flanked Baneling game you've ever seen. Submit that to Monday at day9.tv. And other than that, I'm done. Mwah, happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Go on out there, make a heart, baby, and have yourself a happy V-Day. Take care, guys. Woohoo!